Hi there.
Hello.
Hi. I think today we're going to talk about the frequently asked questions about the appraisal profession. And I think you have a few questions that you wanted to ask me that are maybe misconceptions or questions that are, at the tip of people's tongue and they would like some answers to.
Yes, I do. First of all, most basic, what is actually involved in a residential appraisal process?
Oh, that's a good question. First, there's an empirical observation of the property, whether it's commercial or residential, and that involves an inspection where the appraiser will photograph and document details of the premises, and then later compile a comprehensive report, which often involves consultation with experts, depending on the type of appraisal report, the purpose for which it is being done, and also the degree of complexity involved. And the more complex, the more experts that would be involved, and city officials and so forth, where the information would be derived from. And then once that is done, then the information would be analyzed, a variety of different costs, income, and direct comparison approach would be applied to determine a final estimate of value. At that point, the report would be compiled and sent to the client.
Okay. And what type of credentials does an appraiser need to have to do this work?
That's a very good question, and I think something that probably the general public knows very little about. And probably the first reason that they know very little about them is there aren't that many of them in Canada. We only have less than 45 members in Canada belonging to the Appraisal Institute. Now, there are a number of other affiliations in Canada, but the most commonly known association in Canada for appraisers is the Appraisal Institute of Canada. And should one belong to the Appraisal Institute of Canada, the prerequisite would be to have an undergraduate degree. And at that point, to become a member, one would be beginning with the Saunders Business School at UBC to take courses toward their accreditation or designation, depending on whether they would want to become a CRA or an AACI. And that process would be anywhere around the 5-year mark, because there's a combination of apprenticeship through an appraisal firm and a series of rigorous academic courses that would have to be taken in order to fulfill this postgraduate study. And at that point, depending on their path, again, they choose whether they want to become a Canadian residential appraiser, predominantly obviously in residential appraisal, or an AACI, which is an appraiser who does commercial and industrial work as well as residential. So they would choose that path. So that would be something that people probably don't know, that it's quite a long and lengthy study, and takes quite a bit of time to fulfill those requirements.
Wow. And with only 4,500 appraisers in Canada, would you say that a realtor is their biggest competitor?
That's a good question. Actually, I would say that because of the fact that many appraisers are also active realtors, that they would probably work hand in glove very well together to complement one another. As you mentioned, 4,500 appraisers in Canada, that's very true. And as opposed to that, there are, I believe the figure is around 100,000 realtors in Canada. So certainly the educational requirements are more stringent for appraisers, but appraisers and realtors need each other very much so. So I would say they complement one another very well, where appraisers are often needing the help of realtors with regard to the information that's posted on the MLS. They need to understand, particularly in commercial work, what's the motivation behind a sale, and what are the leases consisting of. Much of this information would be only derived from actually speaking to a realtor and having a relationship with many good realtors. And conversely, on the other side of it, you have realtors who often need appraisers for many reasons, where they need to have information discussed from them, or an objective viewpoint given. If they have a client who is not in agreement with the value, they would like to have a third party that would give them that objective opinion, an objective value for that property. And that's very important to both their profession and their appraisal. So I think they work very nicely hand in glove together.
Yeah, it sounds like it. Well, thank you so much for sharing this information with me today.
That was great talking to you, and hopefully that will be of some assistance to people out there to give them some information about what we do.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Thank you.